So today I'm going to talk about the regional clearance unitary system. And first, I would like to start with what is a clearance system for those who actually are not familiar with the topic. So a clearance system is designed to channel international settlements. So basically, whenever you need to do a payment, let's say with your neighbor, you use your account, your bank account, but what is happening behind? Behind there is, when we are talking about a local payment, there is a central bank which actually acts as a chamber clearance payments. So basically the central bank, what it's doing is netting up all the debits and credits between the financial institutions and doing the payment that we have ordered. So we can imagine that in this local framework there was a lot of agents involved. So there is a high transactional cost involved. And when importers has to do a payment for exporters abroad, then the costs are even higher, because then there is a lot of agents playing at the same time. So we have international banks, local banks, and more central banks playing in this clearing system. So basically, as an idea of the ALBA was to design a system to channel the international settlements between participating countries. And what makes this system particular and different from other clearing systems is that it uses a virtual currency. See? This virtual currency is called Sucre. Is a basket of currencies, same as the SDR that are used for another international organizations around the world, like the International Monetary Fund, like the Bank for International Settlements. So the idea is exactly the same. So we use a common unit of account that is called Sucre, and this basically is the basket of currency formed with the currencies of every country that is a member of this system. Basically, how the calculation is done is just is taking into account macroeconomic factors and a projection on how much trade is done between countries, and then we arrive to this new virtual currency called Sucre. Yes. What is special also is that this system respects the sovereignty of each nation. In which sense? When an importer has to do a transaction, it only uses the local currency. Yeah? He doesn't need to go and buy the foreign currency as is normally done in another clearing system. Just use the local currency as to the bank that he has the account there for a payment abroad. And this local bank has to check the transaction, accomplish with all the anti-monetary laundering rules, and then send the order to the central bank. The central bank, in this case, will register a transaction in Sucres, in this virtual currency, and send that information to this central chamber. The central chamber, in the case of this regional clearance unitary system, is the ALBA bank. Yes? The ALBA bank, what it does is just net up all the surplus minus the deficit of all the commercial transactions, and then the difference pays to the beneficiary central bank. And then the beneficiary central bank of the exporter, in this case, settle the money to the local bank of the exporter, and the exporter receives the money in the local currency of the exporter. So as you can see, in any moment that the two agents, in this case the importer and the exporter, they didn't have to buy any currency. All was settled among central banks. And that is an important advantage of the system, because it reduces first transactional costs, then FX costs, which also implies that the prices will be lower for the consumers. Yep. That was the main point of the clearing system, to provide a new access, especially in our countries, to foster trade, integrating actors, especially especially for small and medium companies that doesn't have the funds to actually access to clearing systems around the world. And also this system allowed to micro agents, for instance, microfinance banks, also to access to this clearing system. Also, this system is one of the pillars of the new financial architecture, which is framed within the norms and rules of international law. The idea is actually promote mutual trade, as I said, between the participating countries, minimizing the use of local currency. Which are the countries that at the moment belong to this system are Bolivia, Cuba, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Venezuela. Uruguay is now in the waiting list, is expecting the confirmation of the constitutive treaty to start the operation. So we expect that this year Uruguay will also sum up to the system. What are the advantages? First, it allowed to importers and exporters to access to a market of approximately 68 million inhabitants. As I said, reduce cost, transactional cost, FX cost, maximizes the cash flow of small and medium companies, and facilitates settlements and obligations among central banks. At the moment, it's used only for trade, but in the future, we would like that also payment of services will be incorporated in the system. So let's talk about a little bit the system evolution. So basically, this system it was born with a presidential mandate that created the Sucre system, this regional system, in November 26 of 2008. By April 16, 2009, the macro agreement of the creation of the Sucre was signed. The first transaction was done between Cuba and Venezuela in February 3rd, 2010. Ecuador joined the system by June 17, 2010, and we did then afterwards the first transaction also with Venezuela. The governing body of this system is called the Regional Monetary Council. This council has as a function to regulate, to control, and to monitor all the operations within the system, but also has the challenge to promote the regional integration of trade and economic policies, but actually respecting the sovereignty of every country that form parts of this system. What is important also and characterize this system is that there has been created a reserve and commercial convergence fund, and the idea of this fund is actually to help countries when there is a situational liquidity issue. Yes, so the idea is that this fund will prevent that the trade won't operate if there is a problem with liquidity. So there will be funds available for the participating countries. Also, the idea with this fund is to finance programs to increase mutual and complementary trade among participants. So, when the regional Sucre, this virtual currency, was created, it has a value of approximately $125 per Sucre. At the moment, the value is $124.69. And if you see, the volatility of this currency is pretty low. So it has helped also to maintain the stability of all the operations that are ruled in this project. The initial assignment of the issue of this virtual currency was 152 million sucres. That is equivalent to $190 million. And that was distributed according to the size of the country and how much trade is done between countries. So in the case of Ecuador, we have 18% of that emission, so we hold 24.8 million sucres. And we are doing approximately in this last year, approximately $1 billion in transactions, mainly with Venezuela at the moment. And also this system is very innovative. So when a country has spent a lot of these virtual currency and doesn't have anymore, it can buy from another country, yes, through a repo transaction. So it means that in the case, let's say, Ecuador doesn't have enough sucres to run up the trade operations, we could just go to one of the partners and buy it in a repo agreement, and we will compensate for that. What are the challenges for this system? First, we need to actually achieve a consolidation of the system. It has been running up for 4 years. The transactions that we have done have been very successful. It's now very popular, even runs better than another system that we have also as a regional initiative, that is Aladi, that has a bit higher cost. So the super system has proved to be, in that sense, more successful. This system also has to support other pillars of this new financial architecture, and the other pillars are the creation of a regional development bank, which is actually now in the process of being created, that is called the Banco del Sur, and the creation of a common regional reserve fund in order to provide more liquidity to the countries when they need it. We also want to continue reducing the need for high reserve in foreign currencies to promote trade in both sides, private and public. And this is what the system is doing, so we want to increase that opportunity. We want to also offer additional resources to promote trade among the countries. So we want that this fund will grow. At the moment it's only 10 million. Sucres, but the idea is that it starts to grow. We want to optimize the time of the transactions. Just a comparison, in the worst case, in the traditional clearing system, it can take up to 4 days to settle a transaction. In the Sucre system, it takes 12 hours, and we want to optimize that. We want to develop even more economies of scale, as you see, as there are less private agents involved, more central banks with a bigger capacity to cover the transactions. So the idea is to have more members participating on that to reduce even more the cost of transactions for importers and exporters. And another advantage of this system is that it's easy to translate and integrate within the different clearing systems that actually exist. Yeah, so wherever system that is used for transactions in the world can actually deal also with the regional clearing system that ALBA has created. Thank you very much.